Okay, so in this battle video, we are pitting the all-new Samsung Galaxy Tab A9 Plus against its predecessor, the Galaxy Tab A8. Let's go ahead and jump in. First things first, as always, let's go ahead and start off this way. If you are in the market for either one of these two tablets and money is not an issue, go for the Samsung Galaxy Tab A9 Plus. The reason being it is simply a better tablet. It's a better tablet compared to the Tab A8. Now, with all of that being said, let's go ahead and fly through the physical features of these tablets here. They're going to be sharing a lot of these features, except for some slight differences here and there. Let's start off at the bottom here. You have a USB Type-C port on either one of these two tablets. You have a headphone jack on either one of those tablets, again, which is a very good thing. You have power button, volume rocker, of course, as you would expect. And then we have quad speaker setup on either one of those two tablets. And I can tell you that the sound quality coming out is decent. It's not super crisp, but it is loud. So when it comes down to volume, I could definitely tell you that you will be able to enjoy entertainment, whether it be watching movies, playing games, just listening to music, whatever the case may be, the sound coming out is definitely gonna be loud, which is a good thing. Now, a few of the differences that we are going to notice between these two will include the fact that on the A9 Plus here, you have additional mics. So it does pick up the sound slightly better than it would on the Galaxy Tab A8 here. On top of that, we do have some Pogo Pens at the bottom here for you to be able to snap this into an official Samsung keyboard whenever that comes out. As of the shooting of this video, the keyboard cover or book cover, whatever they're gonna call it, has not come out yet, but it is keyboard ready with those Pogo Pens so that you can snap that into a native book cover. On the Tab A8, you do not have that. Other than that, everything else remains the same. So when you look at the design there, you know, you're gonna like what you like. I'm gonna like what I like. Personally, I prefer the A8 design. You know, it's boxy. I mean, they're both boxy tablets, but that little band there is a little bit thinner. It just seems a little bit more refined, but when it comes down to quality, they seem to be made with the same material. Now, on the back of the tablets here, you have cameras. Well, a single camera on each one of these tablets is an 8 megapixel camera. It's not top of the line camera. It's for you to, you know, scan maybe some documents and things like that. It's not for you to take videos or pictures and things like that. You can if you want to, but it just won't be top notch. On the front here, you do have a 5 megapixel camera on either one. Now, again, these are not meant for you to take high quality videos, but you certainly can, you know, conference call with these, you know, call grandma, your friends, teacher, whatever the case may be. As long as your setting is well lit, they should be able to, you know, see you and you can have decent video or decent picture quality coming out of it. Now let's go ahead and talk about the display. You will notice that the Galaxy Tab A9 Plus here is a larger tablet. We are looking at an 11 inches tablet as opposed to a 10.5 on the A8 from last year. Now, in terms of display, they're both TFT displays along with the same resolution. You have 1200 by 1920, I believe, on either one. The difference here, however, is that you have the same amount of pixel on a slightly larger tablet, which normally would mean that the A9 Plus would be a little bit more pixelated than this, right? Meaning the A8 should be a little bit sharper because, you know, those pixels are packed together in a slightly smaller display. But for some reason, the display looks better on the Galaxy Tab A9 Plus here. On top of that, this display supports up to 90 Hertz refresh rate, which is really, really nice. The refresh rate on the A8 stays at 60 Hertz. So when it comes down to scrolling, to those of you who are not familiar, when it comes down to scrolling, so I'm not gonna get into the details of what a refresh rate is, but anyways, so when it comes down to scrolling, things move in a much more smooth way on the A9 Plus here as opposed to the A8. So superior display here when compared to the A8 here. Now let's go ahead and talk specs and performance here. And I can already tell you right away that, again, the Galaxy Tab A9 Plus is a better tablet. It is loaded with 64 gigs of internal storage. That's the base amount of storage that you get versus the Tab A8 at 32 gigs of internal storage. So the base here is 32 gigs and on A9 Plus, the base is 64 gigs. That 64 gigs on the A9 Plus also comes with 4 gigs of RAM, whereas on the A8, you have 3 gigs of RAM. Now you can go for the next config on the Galaxy Tab A8. You will get 4 gigs of RAM along with the next config, which is 64 gigs of internal storage. Whereas on the A9 Plus, you're gonna get 8 gigs of RAM for the next config, which is 128 gigs of internal storage. Now, when it comes down to performance, you can actually see, I mean, the A9 Plus is just a much better tablet, and it's very noticeable, right? When you put them side by side, it boots up faster, it loads, applications faster. It just does everything, faster than the A8, which again makes sense because when you hear the specs, you can already imagine what's happening there. So when it comes down to playing games, for example, the Tab A9 Plus here is definitely a better tablet. Things place a little bit more smoother than they do on the Tab A8 here, and you are able to toggle some of the specs in some games, higher than you would on the Galaxy Tab A8 here. When it comes down to multitasking, that's another thing that the A9 Plus here has that the A8 does not. You have the ability to be even more flexible in your multitasking with the Galaxy Tab A9 Plus here, right? Because Samsung DeX is now available on the budget line. So now you have Samsung DeX here, you'll be able to toggle in between windows, be able to do multiple things at the same time, which is something that you do not have available on the A8 here. Anyways, bottom line, better performer in the Samsung Galaxy Tab A9 Plus versus the Galaxy Tab A8. Now let's move on to battery. Battery life was good on the Galaxy Tab A8. I definitely can give you that, especially for a budget tablet. But battery life seems to be slightly better on the A9 Plus here from what I remember with when I bought my Galaxy Tab A8. It could be also because of the chipset and the way it manages heat and the battery and all that good stuff. So better battery here. Let's go ahead and move on to cameras. When it comes down to cameras, I mentioned they'd be pretty much the same thing because they are essentially the same cameras. Now, with all of this said, let's go ahead and close this video. And before we do, just wanted to mention a few other things here. With the Galaxy Tab A9 Plus here being a newer tablet, obviously it's going to be supported longer, right? So that's something that you should keep in mind if you are in the market for either one of these two. The Tab A9 Plus will be supported longer than the A8 here. The next thing I want to highlight here, and I believe I missed that when I was going over the physical features, is that you still do have a slot here for the micro SD card for you to expand the internal storage of your tablet, right? So you do have the ability to expand the internal storage at up to 1 terabyte on either one of these two tablets. So keep that in mind as you go out there shopping for this here. And the last thing that I'm going to say here is that charging is the same as it's always been, 15-watt wired, right? These are not wireless charge or anything like that. So you can charge them using those USB Type-C ports at 15 watt. But anyways, with all this being said, I want to give you my take, and it's a very simple one. If you're in the market for this, for either one of these, again, Tab A9 Plus would be the one to go for. Unless, of course, you find the Tab A8 at a very, very cheap price. But keep in mind that with the A9 Plus, you can still find it at decent prices there, especially with Samsung still slashing down prices. So I'm going to have the links in the description, as I mentioned, for you to go ahead and check out what the current prices are on these, and those links would typically come with discounts attached to them, so make sure you use those links. Anyways, I'm certainly hoping that this was informative and that it helps you in your purchasing decision. Let me know what any questions you may have about these, or if you own any of these, let me know what your experience has been like in the comment section. Don't forget, of course, to like this video, share if you know anyone who will be interested in watching. Make sure, of course, to comment if you haven't done so, and subscribe if you have not done so. I'm going to catch you in the comment section like I always do. I'm also going to catch you in the next video. Up until that next video, as always, stay safe out there.